Most welcome my dear students in the class 12th of English. I am Rashmi, lecturer AD Government Girls Inter College, Gorakhpur, and I am here to teach you a very interesting poem. The name of the poem is The Passing of Arthur, and it is composed by Alfred Lord Tennyson. I must tell you that this poem is an extract of his famous poem Morte de Arthur. So, before we start the poem, I would like to tell you certain things. That this poem is a kind of conversation between a king and his knight. The name of the king is Arthur and the name of the knight is Sir Bedivere. Let me tell you about the King Arthur, that he was a very great king of the 5th, 6th century. He is considered to be the semi-legendary king of Britain, and he founded the institution called the Round Table to repel the attacks of sections and the all evils of the society. Now there is a question that who were sections? Sections were people who belonged to the central and northern part of Germany, and they finally came and settled in the southern part of England. So this was the information about sections and the King Arthur. Now come to the knight. The name of the knight was, as I told you, that Sir Bedivere. Sir Bedivere was the last survivor of the Round Table. Now, before we go for the poem, let's have a quick look on the objectives of the poem. The first objective of the poem is to have a brief knowledge about the Victorian age. Pay attention to the word Victorian. Victorian age, the time span for the Victorian age is 1830 to 1900. So there is the time span of 60 years, and this time span was quite fruitful for the point of view of literature. There was so much material development as well as intellectual development too. So there was the accession of Queen Victoria, that's why this period is called the Victorian age. Second, to imbibe the theme of the poem. There are certain themes in this poem. The first one, you can say that there is the emphasis on the change of law of nature. As we say that change is the law of nature, so there is emphasis on the change in the society. The second thing is that according to Tennyson, God is supreme, and so religion is important rather than science. Actually, there was a clash at that time between science and religion, and if we talk about Tennyson, he focused on the religion. So he strongly condemns the theory of evolution as it was propounded by the Darwin. So he thinks that God is great and science comes after that. Third, to know the meaning of difficult words. As we read this stanza, we find certain difficult words and we know the meaning of those difficult words. In this way, we are able to enhance the vocabulary knowledge. Fourth, to be familiar with the central idea of the poem. As we read the entire stanza, now after that we come to conclusion that what is the central theme of the poem. Fifth, to know the explanation of the poem. Dear children, if we don't understand the explanation of the stanzas, it will be quite difficult to understand the theme, the message of the poem. So these are the things that today we will consider over that, and we will learn a lot of things through this poem. Now there must be curiosity in your mind that who is the poet and how was he? So you must know the name of the poet. The name of the poet was Alfred Lord Tennyson, and I must tell you that Alfred Lord Tennyson is considered to be the representative poet of Victorian age. What I mean to say here, that he is considered to be the representative means that we find in his poetry glimpse of Victorian era. Whatever specific features were present at that time, we can easily find out in the poems of Alfred Lord Tennyson. Second, come to the birth. He was born in the year 1809 at Somersby, United Kingdom. He died in the year 1892 at Lergashall. It was a very small village in United Kingdom. Now come to the education. Trinity College, Cambridge, and when we talk about his major works, first comes poems. So in Memoriam 1850, Idylls of the King 1859, The Princess 1847, Maud and Other Poems 1855. Now come to the plays. Queen Mary 1875, Harold and Beckett 1884, and The Falcon 1879, The Cup 1881. So these are his major works, and the last thing, his craftsmanship is regarded as superb and his matchless in word pictures. So it is his caliber that he excels in word pictures. So this was a brief knowledge about Alfred Lord Tennyson. Now come to the poem. Let's have the background knowledge of the poem. The first thing, this poem is an extract of Tennyson's longer poem, Maud the Author. So I have already told you that this poem is an extract of his, this was a long poem and it has been extracted from there. King Arthur bids goodbye to his favorite knight Bedivere as he goes on his mysterious journey of the island of Avilion. So the poem starts from this point, that he goes on a mysterious journey and he consoles his favorite knight. The name of the knight is Sir Bedivere, and he tells a lot of good things to him, and we will see in the further coming stanzas. This poem points out that change of order is inevitable for the maintenance of the world. This is a very well known proverb that change is the law of nature. So in this poem, this proverb has been very clearly pointed out. It highlights the importance of the prayer. As I told you that Tennyson always propounds in his poem that God is the Almighty, God is supreme, He is the greatest one, and science comes after that. So there should be faith in God, and for that the importance of the prayer is important. Now last but not the least, Tennyson's condemnation of the rationalist thinking is reflected in this poem. Actually, this thought is beautifully reflected in his poem, from the passing of author. I must tell you that the background of the Victorian age, that there was a clash between science and religion. From science, we had the name of Darwin, Huxley, Spencer, and there were so many scientists like that. Darwin propounded the theory of evolution. On the other hand, we have a segment of poets and other literature writers who said that God is supreme and God is the only thing who governs the world. The scientists told that no, God is not great, God is not almighty. It is the science from where the theory of evolution comes. So in this way, there was a huge clash and there was a huge confusion too. And the human being at that time, they got totally confused where to go. Either they should go for God or they should go for science. So in that atmosphere, in that aura, Tennyson comes and he tells, it says the theory of God, and he says that God is the mightiest, religion comes first. So in this way he condemns the theory of scientists. So this was the background knowledge of the poem. Now come to the text. There are 3 stanzas, and first of all, here we have the stanza 1. And slowly answered Arthur from the barge, the old order changeth, yielding place to new. And God fulfills himself in many ways, lest one good custom should corrupt the world. Comfort thyself. What comfort is in me? I have lived my life, and that which I have done, may he within himself make pure. So this is the first stanza. There are certain difficult words. Barge is a kind of light boat. Order, here order means system. Yielding, giving way. Custom, system. And make pure, here it means to pardon, to purify. So now we have cleared the meaning of difficult words. Now I am going to explain this stanza. And slowly answered Arthur from the barge. I have already told you that the king Arthur was going on a mysterious journey and he was wounded. So there was a little hope of his life and he expected that his days were numbered now. In this situation, he consoles his favorite knight, Sir Bedivere, and tells, slowly, very slowly, he is wounded, so very slowly he replies to his knight. The name of the knight is Sir Bedivere. So from that light boat he replies to him. Why does he reply? Because Sir Bedivere is quite disturbed because of the dissolution of the round table, which was founded by King Arthur. So he is quite disturbed and he asks questions that why this incident took place. So in this way he is very much perplexed and he wants to find certain answers from his king about the current situation. At this, King Arthur replies. He says that the old order changeth, yielding place to new. The old system has to be changed. For what? To give way to new systems. Dear children, you must understand this line because this line is quite important and inspirational too. Change is the law of nature. You can find change in every aura of life. Change you can find in nature. We can very easily notice it, that in nature what happens? Flowers, they blossom, they wither away, and the leaves which were green in the beginning, they turned yellow, and finally everything is perished. So the same happens in human life too. There is birth, development, and after that decay. If it does not take place, what will be the situation? Everything will be static and there will be no development. So change is the soul of creation. This must be in your mind. And here King Arthur, the same thing he tells to his favorite knight. And God fulfills himself in many ways. God has a divine plan to execute anything, and he fulfills his desire in whatever way he has planned. Lest one good custom should corrupt the world. As I discussed you, that any good custom, if it lingers too long, what happens? It loses its utility and brings corruption in its wake. So every good custom has to be changed with the passage of time. Comfort thyself. Dear behavior, you should try to be at ease. You should try to have patience. What comfort is in me? Then he asked the same question, that I have comforted myself. I have comfort, and this comfort should be present in yourself too. I have lived my life, as he was deeply wounded. So he says that I have lived my life. My life is over. And that which I have done, whatever I have done, may he within himself make pure. Here he refers to God. So God will take my account of life, and if there is an evil present in my life, in my works, in my deeds, so God will purify it, and in this way I will be able to purify my conscience. So this was the stanza 1, where we learned that change is very important in life and in society too, and we should try to have patience, and side by side we should have a strong belief in God. Now come to the stanza 2. But thou, if thou shouldest never see my face again, pray for my soul. More things are wrought by prayer than this world dreams of. Wherefore, let thy voice rise like a fountain for me night and day. Very small stanza this is, and we have two difficult words here. Wrought, done or achieve. Wherefore, therefore. So now I am going to explain this stanza. But thou, here thou refers to the Sir Bedivere, his knight. But thou, if thou, but you, if you shouldst never see my face again. I have already told you in the first stanza that the king expected that his days were numbered now and his life has come to an end. So he expects that there is a possibility that Sir Bedivere will not be able to see his face again. And if it happens, pray for my soul. In that condition, pray for my soul so that I may rest in peace. Because more things are wrought by prayer. Here he wants to point out this fact that prayer does miracles. And we should have a strong faith in prayer, and it only happens, it is only possible at that time when we will have a strong faith in God too. So we have to focus on prayer, then this world dreams of. And there are so many things in this beautiful world. But if we talk about prayer, prayer has a pivotal role to play in our life. Wherefore, let thy voice rise like a fountain for me night and day. So, your voice should be like fountain. It should rise like a fountain night and day so that I may attain rest, I may attain a very good place in heaven also. In this way, this was the stanza 2. Now come to the stanza 3. For what are men better than sheep or goats that nourish a blind life within the brain? If, knowing God, they lift not hands for prayer, both for themselves and those who call them friend. For so the whole round earth is every way bound by gold chains about the feet of God, but now farewell. So there are certain difficult words that nourish to allow a feeling, blind life, the life full of darkness, bound by, chained. He says in this stanza that what is the difference between an animal and a human being? For what are men better than sheep or goats? Why are we better than sheep or goats? Why are we better than animals? That nourish a blind life within the brain. If a man has brain, even though he leads a blind life, means here he tries to say that if we don't accept the existence of God and we are having brain, so we are just like animals. In this way he comments on the scientists like Darwin, Huxley, Spencer. So he says that they are having brain, they are using their brain for scientific researches and they don't accept the existence of God, so they are like animals. If knowing God, if you know God and you are not lifting your hands for prayer, if you don't believe in prayer, if you don't pray for God, if you don't accept the existence of God for both for themselves and those who, for yourself and for whom? For your friends. For so the whole round earth is every way bound by gold chains about the feet of God, because all the activities of the world are executed by God. So if we don't assert the existence of God, if we don't feel that God is great, God is supreme, so everything is bound by chains about the feet of God. So these are the things. After saying that, he says that but now farewell, now I am going. So this was the stanza 3. Now come to the format of explanation. There is reference. Here you have to mention these heart-touching lines have been taken from the poem From the Passing of Arthur, composed by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Then you have to mention the main matter or in the context section. In these lines, King Arthur advises his favorite knight Sir Bedivere not to feel sorry at the departure of the king, because change is the law of nature. Now explanation, I have already explained it to you. Now come to the comments. You can add comments to the old order refers to the age of chivalry and the institution of knighthood that flourished during the dark age and the middle ages. Second thing you can point out, this is suited to the dramatic nature of the extract, which is a speech of King Arthur to his knight Bedivere. Third, the lines are run-on lines. Their sense does not end at the close of the verse, but running into the succeeding verse. So run-on line, the theory of run-on line works here. And now come to the central idea. This poem is an extract from Tennyson's longer poem Morte d'Arthur, which is the closing book of the Idylls of the King. The wounded King Arthur bids goodbye to his favorite knight Bedivere and consoles him by saying that he should not be sorry for the dissolution of the Round Table and the ending of the age of chivalry. Change of order is inevitable for the maintenance of the world. The king then asked to derive comfort from clean conscience, as he himself has done. In the concluding lines, the poet asserts the existence of God and emphasizes the importance of prayer as it does miracle. So in this way you can write down the central idea of the poem. Now questions for evaluation. What does King Arthur say about old and new order? So he says that old order has to be passed away so that new order can come. In this way we will able to develop our society. What views does King Arthur hold about God and the earth in lines 16 to 18? So he says that this is the 16 to 18 lines where he asserts the existence of God. God is great, God is supreme, and we should accept the supremacy of God. Now come to the important segment, the homework. Explain the following lines with reference to the context. For what are to, but now farewell. You have to explain in a manner. I have already told you the format of explanation. Second, which lines do you find the most appealing for you? So this was the homework. The last section of the study. Message of the text. First, we should always be ready to accept the change. Change is the law of nature. Love this change, so that you can be adventurous in your life, and through change you will be able to learn a lot of things. This poem strongly propounds the theory of faith in God. This poem asserts the value of God, the supremacy of God. Third, it is sure to inculcate a sense of devotion in God, fellow feeling, as we see the very affinity between the king and the knight Sir Bedivere, and religiosity. I have already told you that there was a clash between science and religion, and he emphasizes religion first. Fourth, distinction between men and animals is clearly defined in this poem, that there is a difference of brain, there is a difference of mind, and we have mind, so we can use it in a proper manner, and in this way we are quite different from animals. So this was the message of the text. Dear children, I hope you must have grasped the theme of this beautiful poem, and we can learn a lot of things through this poem. This was for the today, and again I will meet you some new topic, some new human values. Till then, have a great time. Thank you very much.